Hey everybody, it's me, JTJ, coming at you with a review of King of the Hill Season 1, Episode Peggy the Boggle Champ. Now, personally, I want to get into this review talking about how I don't much care for games like Boggle or Scrabble, and the reason for that is because personally, I suck at spelling most words. Sometimes I have to go on Google just to look up how a word is spelled. Funny story about that. But I do have to say that it is pretty cool to see somebody play Boggle or Scrabble. I mean, it's more funner to watch than to actually play. That's just my personal opinion. But I don't feel the same way about this episode. But I will get into that a little later. I'm going to start this episode off by talking a little bit about, the behind the scenes aspects, like I usually do. This episode was directed by Chuck Sheets. I think that's how you pronounce it, Sheets. Forgive me if somehow Chuck Sheets is watching this review and thinking in his head, this guy's an idiot. I mean, I don't like to call people that, but okay. But anyway, it's supervised, directed, as usual, by Wesley Archer. This episode is also written by Jonathan Abel and Glenn Berger. And as usual, it's staff written the great late Johnny Hardwick and Jim Dotrieve. And as usual, it's created by Mike Judge and Greg Daniels. Also, guest starring, this will probably interest you Big Bang Theory nuts. It guest stars Laurie Metcalf. I feel dumb for saying that because I feel I'm mispronouncing it. And it also guest stars the great Chuck Mangione. Yes, I have one of his albums. Don't you judge me. Anyway, so this episode is about Peggy entering a Boggle tournament. I know, those apparently exist. I didn't do research to do further study, but I'm guessing there are Boggle tournaments still. That's just my guess. I'm not going to say there are or aren't, in case there actually is, and I said there aren't, and in case there aren't, and I said there is. So, you can't get me. But I'm going to talk about what I did not like about this episode. First off, it was the character voiced by Laurie Calf, Sissy Cobb. By the way, Sissy Cobb, you couldn't think of a better name than Sissy Cobb? That doesn't even sound like a real name, Sissy. The word sissy, I'm guessing that's a name, and I'm going to get punched by several people one day. But, no, what I really hate about her personally is that laugh and her arrogance. Like, she talks like she's this big shot, and she thinks she knows everything about words. I never claimed to know anything about words because, again, I'm not that good at spelling. And, we all have our faults. That's just my personal opinion. But one of the things she says in the episode is, God, I can't remember what the word she criticized was, but I know she criticized the word ain't, which technically isn't a word, which I was rudely informed in middle school by a friend. Well, if you can call him that. No, I'm kidding. But he was kind of rude about it, not gonna lie. But anyway, and that wasn't even the word Peggy wrote. The word she wrote was acquaintance. So, and it was kind of funny how she turned the tables on it, saying acquaintance, as in it was not a pleasure to meet your acquaintance. That was the best burn probably in season 1 so far, personally. But I will tell you, I do like some of the jokes they put into this episode. Even the one with Dale saying, "It is a shame to see my wife, be playing Boggle on such a beautiful day. She should be outside hanging my laundry. Oh, Dale, you are such a charmer. Why did your wife ever cheat on you with John Redcorn?" Sorry, I had to make that joke. Somebody had to. But the episode also focuses around the most funniest thing about this episode, which is Bobby and Luann, which is kind of a C story plot in the episode. I call it a C story because there's always a B story and an A story. And the A story of this episode was Peggy's Boggles tournament, and the B story in this episode was Hank wanting to go to that mower show, which kind of connects to the A story because Hank was being forced to sit in a room watching his wife play Boggle, which in my personal opinion is kind of dumb. I mean, I get she wants him to show his support, but he's going to be cooped up in that room with a bunch of other coaches for something that I don't even think you need a coach for. I mean, I played Yu-Gi-Oh! Back in the day, and I did not need a coach for playing Yu-Gi-Oh! But then again, I did suck at it, but that's because of synchros, and that's a story for another day. But the C plot I find most hilarious because it's just silly how Bobby and Luann made a big deal about the whole not putting a coaster on the table, and now the table's ruined, and they think, oh, Peggy and Hank are going to be mad at them for messing up their house, and then they buy some paint and they wind up fixing it with the paint. I think it was paint. I assume it's paint or primer. They said, I heard primer. So it might have been primer, whatever. Primer. I'm not a tool guy, okay? Don't come after me, okay? Just saying. I don't know shit about tools and all that. I mean, I build stuff once in a while, but that's usually because there's instructions involved and somebody's helping me build that thing. Anyway, and then we get into the part of the episode where the primer or paint drops onto the floor and they have to fix it, and they wind up hiring all these people to fix their house, and I'm just sitting here like, I'm pretty sure Hank and Peggy wouldn't have made such a big deal out of the whole table thing in the first place. I think that would have just been a minor inconvenience for them, and they would have probably just been like, you should be more careful next time. But the episode basically ends with, Hank and Peggy coming home and being all, you all should be ashamed of yourself. Bobby, Luann, you're grounded. Also, I'm like, Hank, how can you ground Luann? One, she's 20, 19, 18? I can't remember how old she was at the beginning of the series. I think 18, to be honest. And then you have you can ground Bobby, and it's just kind of, I guess they could have grounded Luann. She lived under their roof, so go for it. But it's just kind of funny seeing that. But anyway, we get into the B part of the episode where Hank decides to ditch watching Peggy in that tiny cooped up room and go to the mower show. And I'm like, wow, Hank and Peggy were made for each other. They both like boring-esque stuff no one cares about. I mean, personally, I wish I could mow my lawn, but it's all covered in rocks, and I never had the opportunity to put grass on it. If I could, I would put grass on it and mow it. But I wouldn't even drive a mower. I'd probably do it old school like, because I feel that would get the job done a little better in some aspects. Plus, I wouldn't have to worry about the fear of running someone over with it. I can barely drive, let alone drive a mower. I'm kidding, I can drive. I can't say I drive okay, though. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not the best driver. I'm just going to leave it at that. But anyway, Hank has a change of heart, and, he winds up going to the Boggle tournament and helps Peggy out, which, in my opinion, Hank should have found out what time the finals would have been and just went to the mower show but left the mower show to go watch Peggy in the finals. I mean, personally, if a coach is allowed during the finals, that would have made the most sense instead of cooping them up in one room together. It's just kind of weird in some ways. I mean, I don't know anything about those tournaments. I don't know if they actually do have coaches. But, yeah. Now, my rating for this episode, I would have to give it a 4.3. Which I think is fair, a 4.3. And personally, again, like I said earlier, I was never a big fan of the first season. But I do look forward to the next episode, which is another episode I do particularly like of this season. And if you can guess the name of that episode in the comments, without looking it up, I would not know. If you can guess the name of the episode in the comments, I'll do a shout out to you. First one to comment it will get the shout out. But, that's my take for today. Till next time, as always, stay tight.